All right. That'll work. Okay. Hi. How are ya? All right. So I am clicking away. So today I put up a post talking about today's program. It's rather dicey. You think I'm going to get myself in the frame at some point? Close enough. Ish. All right. All right. Okay. So today I thought I'd do some drawing on the old picture screen, unless anybody else has got some other things. And the reason that I'm saying this is that, I've been working on some stuff. And so because I'm working on some stuff and I got something done today, which is why I posted what I posted today, I thought I'd do something different. And I need to, finish a project, celebrate with a break. Right? Right. Sound good? Sounds great. Okay, so I've got my happy pen. I am happy. Look at me, so happy. Ah! And I just thought I'd start throwing some shapes and, start laying down some stuff. Part of the fun about drawing digitally is putting down, different layers so that I can draw sort of a nice rough. And I want to widen that line. I'll show you why. Yeah, just stick it that line up, son. I've got my opacity at 50%, and I'm just going to kill this layer and put up a new one. Delete it. You bet I want to delete it. Okay, so the whole reasoning behind laying out the different layers for myself to work on and to be able to drop new layers on top so that I can put in some really rough blue lines for the lower layers, right? Sounds great, Chris. That's a fantastic idea. I'm glad you like it. And just like, look, if you're just playing with shapes and finding things to draw, and it sort of allows you to take away from the preciousness of how you're working, because you're just laying down stuff, so that when you put the layer on top and you go into, well, I'm going to stay with the same brush, but if you go in and you put a more controlled and clean line, and you're going to have more fun and you're going to do more definition. He says this, and I make some sloppy drawings. So that's why the different layers. Anywho, so yeah, that's it. That's the gist of it. So I just finished the one project that I was working on. So I've had a challenge this year with these projects that I'm doing. None of them are releasing really yet, except for a Sasquatch book I illustrated for Tardigrade Press here in Old Connecticut. So that released, but not really a lot other than that. So it gets challenging, right? Like, you want to put out stuff and get that released so that people could see what you've been doing, but it doesn't always make it accessible. So, oh well, so be it. All right, so just throwing down some shapes and putting this character in here and not getting too concerned about it. Now, I tend to draw with really tight lines as I'm working, but I'm trying different things here as I'm working digitally, because I don't have to be so worked up about that. And so I'm allowing the gestural part of it a little more to come through, and exploring different avenues for how I'm going to put together some stories, how I'm going to approach exactly how it is I'm drawing. I might have a guest today. It depends on their schedule. We had talked to, roughly about it, but not concretely. So the invitation's out there. They may join us or not. But in the interim, I'm going to move that up. All right, so just allowed myself to be able to move the figurative form I was working on up, and so you can see the entirety of it. So I'm trying different things out, and I'm playing with different notions of how to put together compositions and using different values, different tones, different blends, and always hopping, always dancing, much like my pal Tom Jones today. Which, by the way, that's who I'm listening to, because I'm redonkulous today. So I'm just putting together some elements and playing with some stuff, and putting together some characters that I think it's more interesting to me that when you're drawing some characters, you're looking at it from a vantage point of the casual action, the casual situation that's happening, instead of getting too caught up or too overly focused on always the dynamic things. I think that when you're introducing a scene, often at times I think it's important to allow the characters to be at rest. It tells us something about them sometimes. And so there we go. So there's a second leg. And then it comes to getting the character in. Hold on a second. I'm going to switch in my chair. Well, that worked well. That was dramatic. That's a dramatic change in chair. So the other thing you can do is, as you're switching your layers, you can use different values, and that sort of helps to let you understand what layer you're on in the moment. Kill off some of these silly layers I've got on. There we go. So now I'm putting in some details, or I want to tighten up some stuff with certain aspects here without doing a lot of erasing and farting around. Now other people are working far faster. What I really haven't figured out is the short keys and getting down to making it a much tighter process for drawing digitally. I'm still working like it's a traditional thing, but I'll figure it out as I go. So I'm taking out that lower layer, so that just the structure that I just put in is what we're seeing, and just leaving that as it is. The silly things. Okay. So I'm going to switch the color again. So I'm placing this character inside a vehicle. That's I'm looking at old images of aeroplanes and seeing how the hell do I get that brush to go away? Well, whatever. All right, so where am I on? So trying to make it interesting. So as I'm laying in the scene, I'm trying to look at it from a vantage point of how can I construct the scene to give a sense of enclosure and isolation in a character. And I found a cool image online, and so I'm just utilizing that and playing with that and then building upon it so that it lets me explore some different aspects of a private moment or an emotional moment in the scene. So I think stuff like that is fun and it's interesting because it just gives more depth to something. Now this is all rough. You'd sit down with a ruler and you'd tighten it all up. Oh, that was nice. Hey, look at that. Got rid of it. Okay. You live and you learn. Whoops. Back step. So, as I'm rounding out these structural layouts and all of these plans for the scene itself, and I'm fitting, there's the shape of the panel. So I've got a rough shape on the frame of the panel, but you can see how the different elements are placed in on different layers. So it sort of allows me to, now that I've got this all worked up and plotted in, I can switch out my brush. Just takes a second. I got too many brushes on here. Boy, does it ever take a second? Good heavens. Maybe it's because I'm running both programs at the same time. Yeah, let's switch to the one beside it. Yeah, that's nicer. Okay, so if I go and I throw another layer on top here, then this allows me to now sit down and start tying together some of these elements. So now that I'm going onto this inking layer, this is the stuff that I've really been playing with lately, is to sort of find out how can I switch over to drawing digitally and maintain some of the ways that I'm working traditionally. Can I get the digital pen to work the same as a traditional pen as I'm inking? And so it finally took finding specific and certain brushes to be able to do that. So yeah, it's feeling better about how I go about. But if I take out all of these other layers, as I take all those out and reduce it down to the layer that I'm on, and all these lines eliminated, I just want to make sure it's got that depth of line that I'm trying to put in. Now, I would probably sit down and ink this character on the top surface and then put yet another surface underneath and ink the backgrounds, just so that I can make sure that I'm not going to take out the work that I've just done. Yeah, so I don't draw digitally much. Not as much as I could, but it's just largely because the project that I've started on have been traditional penciling. But I recognize that I need to make some sort of transitional switch and do more work in a computer. I think that it's going to enable me to expedite my whole process. The challenge is finding the correct setting for me. I have a hard time with my setup because nothing's really ever built for my size. So I have to figure out ways to make it work. And I'm not comfortable with the laptop. I'm drawing on a laptop, so working on it still anyways. So I'm trying to keep the lines moving in the character in interesting ways. So if there's ever any questions or any thoughts about what I'm doing, how I'm going about doing it, feel free to ask. So it's in this stage that I realize this leg needed to be longer. And And that's the nice thing about layers. I mean, it's the same thing as when you're inking not on the same sheet you've done all your pencils in, is that you can find those improvements along the way, but challenging. I don't know. I think there's still something to be said for traditional inking for sure, as far as I'm concerned. Because it's a lot of, I haven't figured out all the monkeying around to get a hold of the intuitiveness that you have when you're working. Traditionally, you've been working that way for a long time. Following the shape of the foot, the heel, how the fabric would sit and drop on the boot. Thinking about those things as I'm working. So even though I've set the initial image up in such a certain way, as I'm doing the inking process here, I'm taking liberties. As I'm drawing it this way. So if I pull those two layers out for the character, you can see how some of the lines have come together now. I really don't understand the stereotypical inking style that a lot of people do when they're doing digital work. I find that a lot of it looks very similar when you see digital pencils for comics. It's that sort of everybody using that fat brush. It's very stylized. I, clearly don't have the fat brush, but even if I've got brushes, I mean, I could replicate that, but it doesn't gel for me. Okay, so here's my rough pencil work for this female air person, or space person in the case of this. And I'm going to put some of that sort of ephemera on the costume that sort of says, hey, this is playing on this outer space jazz. Yeah. Just throwing in a couple of little details in there before I start getting too carried away, too caught up in the character themselves. Now, one of the things that could be done, and this is something that I considered earlier, was tools around the person. So I'm going to jump another layer again and try some things out. Put some tool kit and ephemera around the person here on the floor. So I'm sort of building and populating the scene around the character and adding some of these elements in so much as it helps to more clearly and readily define a little bit of the character's personality and position and what it is that they're bringing into the story by having some little key bits of design that sort of help us understand, what this person does and why they're carrying whatever they're carrying on them. It's the little fun things too. It's the little bits and bobs, the greebles and gravels that you can put on your image that gives it a little more depth and character. And I kind of like that. I really do. But I think that with anything you're working on, if you've got the affordance of, as soon as you finish a project, to take a moment like this for yourself and to do something like this, it's just fun. And then to push yourself to do something that, may not necessarily be within your wheelhouse, your comfort house for how you normally work on things. I think that there's a lot to gain from that. All right, so, I'm going to throw another layer and look at some of these elements that I put in with the initial sketch work. Now, the principal character, so there's the stuff. There's the ephemera for our principal character. Take that little line out, don't need it. And so that's the kit and caboodle that I've added in for effect. This is the character themselves. So you can see how none of this anymore is dependent on the pencils for where I drew the character in, so I can pull those out. But at this point now, I've put a new layer in that you can't see appear and disappear because there's nothing on it yet. But this is the layer that I can now take the background and put it into the scene. And so there's a couple of ways that you can go about doing it. There's ruling systems in the program and the like, but I have a tendency to be pretty old school. So I'm still on the eraser. There we go. So I'm going to lay in on this layer a light structure that's going to run through the image and throw up some of these lines that are moving horizontally throughout it. Just really like a light underlying structure for the image itself that's going to go together. And the reason that I'm doing that is it sort of sets out for me the ability to more clearly define some of the greebles and bobbles. And, if I've just got the sort of, here's where everything is in context to each other. So happy. So I'm no longer going to be posting videos on Facebook or Instagram. I'm only doing them here now. And the reason for that is that, optimally, you've got whatever you're doing purposely set around specific functions. So, this is where I'm running some of these videos together. So you can see how that's coming together now. This is where I do live videos. So why bother posting them on other platforms as well? Now, initially I was doing it with Facebook, but that was largely to just sort of say hi to the Facebook people. Hey, hi, how are ya? Come on in, come and join up, come have some fun. But, at a certain point, you got to cut that off. Cut off. Okay, so again, I'm putting in these little guidelines throughout, and we've got the structure of it the background coming together now. And you can see how it's really bare bones because I'm really just looking at the horizontal and vertical lines in the moment. and putting in that sort of structural approach to it. Hey, Philip. Somebody said hello. It's Philip Chandler. How are you? I don't know if you saw my video or not, Philip, but I did some spearfishing today. I posted that and said, I think it's called something like spearfishing. And then our youngest said to me, it's not spearfishing. It's clickbaiting. My bad. But I posted today about I'm done, and it sounds so dramatic. And yeah, I'm having fun with posting something like that. I know what you're thinking. Whoa, 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 right? Okay, so if I pull this out now, you can see how more of that structure is coming together of the scene as I've roughed together here, right? The elements like the grating in the floor, the elements like the chains that are holding down the objects that are within the compartment here, those aren't in yet. I'm gonna put those to it. Oh, we got somebody else popped in. Hey, it's Matthew McCallum. Fantastic. Hey, welcome aboard. Good to hear from you, man. So now that I've got this structure coming together, the underlying structure, I can start to add on these various elements that are going to sit on top of it. And in that way, I'm not just lockstepped on one layer, so that if I make a mistake, oh, you have to check out the thumb. You'll have to check out the thumb, Philip. It's fantastically fun. It's total clickbaiting. It's just a picture of me and my cat that says, "I'm done." And then the cat says, "Oh, he said it. Oh, snap!" Or I don't know what I said. And yeah, total clickbait. But you're welcome aboard by all means. Thank you very much for coming and hanging out, fellas. And if there's anything you want me to draw instead, let me know. I'm on board. I'm down with that bad sound. All right, so the image is coming together now. You can see how we're getting the structure of the scene together. And if I pull out those background lines and you can see the bones. There's the bones of it, right? And all the little bits and bobs that we're going to put on top of it, that's next. So, it's good fun in the sun. But if there's anything else that you'd rather see me doodling, I'm down with doodling that too. This is just putting it together, just putting together some of what I've laid out here in the image, just because, I felt like doodling this, but I am fully open to any suggestions or ideas that anyone might have, because that's kind of fun for me. So this is me putting in this recurring shape, changing its scale each time. This is where the root is for change to be spun out of. So, there's little bits and beebles and bobs. And because I'm drawing at only 50% of the opacity, it allows me to work up the line. So what I mean by that is, if this is my regular pencil line, which is fairly gray, or my ink line, so it's fairly gray, if I press hard, it comes through. But if I go over the same spot a few times, there's where you start getting your clear black. Oh, no, he didn't. Yeah. Yep. Hi, Corbin. That was Baby in the picture. That was my other cat. I've had her for 14 years. She is a grumpy and irritable old broad. There's this dope sitting with me in the studio now. He's a baby. He's still 8 years old. So yeah. So if I'm throwing another layer, so I start doing some of these other elements on here. Now, if I start drawing chains in, and I'm thinking about the shapes of these and how they work together. So as I start throwing that down, and it's on another layer, if I don't like the look of it, I'll just take it out. So I'm putting it in really loosely. et cetera, et cetera. But and then embedding those into the image by putting this chain clearly moving up between these two objects there. It's that sort of thing. I'll pull that up so you can see. It's that sort of thing that you start adding depth and dimension to your image because you've got things moving in and out with one another. So as I'm putting these different layers in, and those lines here carry through, it starts to have better form. Right, Corbin? Right, Corbin. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun in the sun. Yeah. I'm on camera. Yeah, you just kind of show me what you got. Hey, we got a special guest in the studio today, folks. My son has just bought
a new multimeter.
Didn't you already have a multimeter?
I do, but it's a crappy brand that no one knows, and I couldn't.
So he's bought a fancier multimeter.
I can't find a fuse for it.
I want to wave and say hi to everybody. It's right there.
Hi.
No, you're not in there. Move over. Hey, look at that guy. You want to take the cat?
No, I got to go to school.
All right, buddy. Have a good day. That is our youngest. He is, I don't know, 45, whatever. 60, 1600. So now that the little bits and bobs are coming into the image and I'm starting to put in some of these other elements, you know what might help is if I reduce this all down. So at this point, I'm going to do 2 compressions here. Yeah, I'm going to compress the character into one layer, and then I'm going to compress the background into one layer. And then, yeah. Ah, hell, I'm just going to make it all one layer. Who are we kidding? It's sort of like a, whoops, go back on that one. I got the white in there. It's really kind of working out that this is more, wow, good job. I'm just swinging for the fences today, folks. I'm just going to reduce this image down so it's easier to see in the frame. There we go. Happy. Yeah. Jawohl. There you go, everybody. Welcome to the show. Lori and I have 5 together, and our kids range in age, and this is going to make Matthew feel really old right now. Our kids range in age. Our youngest is 20, and that's from Lori's side, and our oldest is 31, and that's from my side. So we're 1,000. We're 1,000 years old at this point. And it's more fun to say that he's 45 and on his way to school because, why not? I have some fun with that. But he's the last to do all this growth stuff. So I'm putting my underdrawing underneath the existing page or the existing drawing and throwing another layer on top. There you go, Matthew. Yeah, you think you feel old? You try having a 31-year-old. There's something to that, There's I'm really proud of all the kids for who they are and what they do. But it's definitely a reality checker when you realize how old your kids are. Good golly, Miss Molly. So I'm throwing in some of these straps that I laid in the initial drawing, and I get to put some of those textures in there. As my cat smacks me as I'm trying to draw. Oh, you're about to get the Corbin show. Okay, come on. Yes, animal. Okay. Hey. There you go. You happy? That'll tide him over. You're gonna have to give this cat his own channel. He's star hungry. He's attention hungry. He wants to have a whole bunch of cat ladies all impressed with him. Impressed. So pulling out the sub drawing, you can see how elements are starting to come together now, and that's fun. I like that. It's always a good time when you can get those things to happen. Now, there's an artist that I always liked growing up named Baron Story, and honestly, his art is interesting. But as an illustrator, he would talk about allowing yourself to destroy your drawing as you're working on it. And so what that meant was, don't be afraid to throw layers of fixative and layers of material and layers of surface, because he worked traditionally, on top of what it is that you're doing. And allow yourself to sit down and to push the boundaries of how you look at your art as a precious object, and to take it apart, so that if you put some lines in and those lines work to whatever certain extent to define the image, but it's not clearly defined, or you see things that are sort of taking it away from a direction that you initially had planned for it, you can take another layer and put it over top and reduce some of that out, or white some of that out and take it out of the equation, and then subsequently go over top of that and basically error correct. It's like layers before digital media. And I don't know, I'll have to look it up, but I'm not sure if Baron Story is still alive, because I tend not to chase into the personal lives of people that I appreciate, but he'd be up there in years anyhow. So I'm curious to see if he ever did go digital, is what I'm saying, because that would be interesting to me if he did end up working that way, right? Throwing another layer on top to throw in some piping. Just texturize things. Just for guys. I like lines moving around in an environment, especially in an environment that is as chaotic as an airplane or a spaceship or whatever it might be, that you're going to have all kinds of bits and bobs. The idea that was presented in films like Alien or subsequent films that have tried to, Space Truckers I think would be one, or Space Space Sweepers or Star Sweepers. That's a Korean one. They make the spaceships look chaotic and lived in. And as part of that chaos and lived in look, they have so much stuff that's just kind of crammed into everything else. And whenever the ship flies erratically or gets into in these films or gets into some situation where they're reeling and moving about, there's stuff flying all over the compartments. And I love that. I love that kind of an aesthetic look, because to me that sort of says that, hey, you know, there's something to that. And that gives it an authenticity, you know. And then the second thing is what you can do with color, to come in with color and build up and add up so much more to that is also an effective way to approach it. And then, of course, despite laying out the structure of everything else, that key element of color is good, but it's not as important to me as shadow and light, and how the light moves and falls around in the compartment. Because right off the hop, as soon as you've got some fantastically fine contrasts, you're going to see some real subjective changes to the emotional connection of the viewers to the scenario. You know, they're just going to look at it in a far different way because it's moody and it's dark and it's atmospheric, or it's clean and pristine and it looks like it's a very organized and safe area, you know. But the moment that you start putting in these fantastic areas of shade and value, that changes the game. Like if I pull out, so I'm going to do something fun for a moment. I'm going to throw a layer down underneath here, and I'll give a light blue. There we go, kind of a gray blue. And I'll drop that in behind the panel. So there's our sort of flat, rough value. And then I'm going to bounce around from that. But I'm going to throw some heavy contrast in here. So what I do is that if the lighting is, let's say, if the lighting is up here, okay, in the air, you know what, I'm going to put it up there. So let's say the lighting's up there. All right. And but it's, you know, much higher up, right? So let's say it's about 12 feet up. So if I look at that and I look at how it comes down on the character, then a lot of these things, like throughout here, are going to be cast shadow. You know, you're going to have little things like this. And so this is how I figure it out in my roughs when it comes to putting these characters in. Because I'm playing. This isn't for anything. This is just me doodling. And then, you know, of course, there's underlying shadows in these areas here. And then, you know, I clean it up. But what I'm really chasing here right now is just to get a rough idea of it. You know, like, you know, you've got a little idea of the shadow under the chin. You know, you've got some shadow under the front of the person on the ship here. There's little shadows underneath all of these greeble bits over there. You know, it's the fun stuff. Now, there's two ways of doing it. Is that sort of squishy way that I was just doing it there, or I'll just go in and throw in some of these values and start pulling together. And I have no set rule for when I actually go about doing that. For when I'll start putting the shadows and stuff in. But before I get too concerned about the coloring, I try to figure out where shadows are going to be on things, and and then you get into the shadows throughout the objects, and yeah, so fun in the sun. I don't know if this is interesting to anybody or if this is just me carrying on. Shadows from the straps that are on the objects holding them down. Hey, right on, Matthew. Love right back to you, brother. Good to hear from you. You go get beefy. Go get beefed up at that gym. Go beefy. Congratulations, by the way, on some of these projects that we're working on. It's pretty fantastic. So there's just some of the scribbles and creebles. The other way I'll approach it is, that's very nice, Philip. Matt's a cool guy. We were in a comedy troupe together called Your Ex-Girlfriend. It's great because it leads to all this sort of promotion. Your ex-girlfriend coming to your town. Brace yourself. Your ex-girlfriend says hi. Your ex-girlfriend's new show gives up all the secrets. Like, there are so many ways that we could have taken that. See, there's always a part of me that once you get the idea of how all this comes together, just after a while, just go for it, right? So this is part of the science fiction thing that I've been doing. I've been doing it digitally, and trying different things, and it's on its way. It's coming together. It's just a little bit haphazard. Still in a learning stage, but it's a lot of rough pencils and no finishes yet. So that's allowed me to play and to pursue ideas of how I want to process images and, focus on the telling of the story. I'm having fun. It's important that we have fun. Yeah. I feel like I need to get a better handle on digital. You mean Wagner? Do you mean Hegel? Yeah. Oh, I see. Yep. It looks like a bit like the mustache. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, I haven't drawn the chain in here yet. Well, I'm still going to put the shadow up. So the more that these things start coming together, I find that it really allows it to grow and develop. And I don't get too caught up in the spit and polish of it. It stays really rough because I don't have to draw it over and over and over again. There's a liberation in that, and that's fairly liberating when you realize that I don't have to draw this recurringly. I can just have this character. Once you do that establishing shot that shows them in context, every other subsequent shot from that point forward can be the characters, a tight shot here, just the little pieces of the environment around them, but you don't have to show the whole thing. But you know for a fact that your character is in this area where it's close. It's a close confined space, and it's you've already identifiably established the emotional sense of closure, and I say it's emotional, that mood, that sense of closure and isolation, and the text builds on that, because you don't have to say a lot of this stuff now, because ideally they're picking it up on the visual. But if the text picks up on it, then it's, again, that sort of allows you to be freed up as a visual storyteller to not have to keep drawing these shots, these scenes, these images that keep trying to push on the viewer that this is the environment, this is the space. Now, in other times, it's really important that you keep showing, like if your character is here and they're walking and they've got their hand up, holding on to some object above them, and they're at a cockeyed angle of kind of a limp drag sort of a thing going on. And the more that you show that enclosed space around them and darken it out, like have it so heavily darkened out that the areas behind are almost black, I think that sense of cramping, that sense of, and then cutting your frame like this, then you're really going to push that emotional thing even farther. But so in that case, you'll end up starting to draw a lot of these environmental elements over and over and over again. Like, if you think about Sigourney Weaver running around the ship's hallways in Alien, that's a great example, because here she is running through these environments that are largely nondescript, except for the fact that they are for us, because we've already seen them described in those previous shots, right? Or the crew having breakfast, or I think that there's something for that. When she starts running through those hallways that largely feel like abstractions. Oh, I see what I've done now. Yeah, I'm going to correct that. When she's running around those halls and they feel kind of like rough abstractions, then, it sells, because we've seen all those previous shots where she's been in these hallways, been in these larger establishing shots with other crew members, and had conversations in these spaces. So now she's running through them and the lighting has changed. You get a feeling of where that character is in their isolation. That's better. Okay. So think it's the same. Yeah, it's the same. So it's a little haphazard, this way of doing it, but really the more finished marks, I tend to pile more and more onto the surface. And since I find that I've been working, even when I'm drawing digitally, I'm still drawing it like it's a flat surface. You play with the layers a little bit, but I tend to still think of it like a flat surface. I'm working on it, you know. I'm gonna gray out that. So we're done. Oh, it's because it's underneath the. Yeah, it's underneath that light blue, which means I got to go up. So I think, I'm not sure, but we might have a guest coming in. So because I'm putting it in at less than 100% the layer, it lets me put the value in that sort of soft, subtle way, so it allows the highlights and stuff to still peek through. And that makes me very happy. Very happy. And as I'm coloring these layers, of course, I'm trying to think about how they work as planes. You know, where's the surface, where's the weft in the fabric, and whatever sloppy way as I approach this, I'm trying to get that somewhat in there, to the best of my abilities, anyways. But you can always use improvement. Light cool brown. Oops. Sorry if I get into that headspace, that zone. So if I stop talking, or if I'm maybe a little overly focused on what I'm doing, that's why. I tend to move around a lot. I'm listening to 13 Engines, and anybody that watches this, if you don't remember 13 Engines, go take a look. They had a couple albums, and Canadian band. But cool sound, a really cool sound. Oh, putting away the Christmas decorations still. It's going to be an elaborate process for you, Phil, with all your parent stuff. We have not remotely touched ours. Boom, 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 boom. What if we don't get one? Oops. And we're cracking. I probably just could have put a nice flat layer under here, but kind of like the scribbly lines and textures. Fun. Well, anyways, you get the idea. What have I been doing this for? An hour. Just scribbling it together. I think that if once I figure out all those sort of short steps on putting down values and not being too overly precious about the layers and stuff like that, I'll be able to knock material like this together a little bit faster. But in the interim, it's working. It's playing. Honestly, it's sort of the reward to allow myself to play, largely because when you're working on whatever that project is, your time is almost completely swallowed up by trying to get this project done for a client, and then what? Then now you're sitting here with X amount of time that has been devoted to that, and you're sort of, if you want to retool your juices a little bit, you got to do this. You got to stretch your legs just a tiny bit, and it allows you to get a sense of equilibrium back in the projects that you're doing that you've sort of strayed away from, and now you got to go back to that old drawing table where you're starting at the beginning stages again, and you're trying to work on those key pieces of information and trying to figure out what the story is and the characters are and doing all of that jazz and all that stuff once more. And I tend to find that allowing myself to, as soon as I finish something I have to do, I need to take that moment and work on something I want to do. And that little momentary liberation recharges the battery. And I took some time away over the holidays here to I really wanted to focus on family stuff. And so now here I am coming back, and you feel rough, you feel loose on some things, and this helps to tighten them back up again. And it's kind of a nice feeling. Oh, I'm going to go on a higher louder for this. Now, where I'm properly drawing chains, when you're looking at the links of chains, is this on camera? Yeah. And then you've got the next piece that overlaps it. Subsequently, the next piece. So you make sure you have that little overhang, that little lip, and then you look at where the light hits the chain objects themselves. But I'm just scribbling in some nonsense here. What if I put a little doodah down here on the floor? I've got I should put some brown. This leather tool pouch that I've got here. And then I think I had some yellow in the handles. The fun stuffs. Yeah, it's coming together okay. So allowing yourself, once you finish your project, to take a moment and just play, just draw, just color. Nothing to script, nothing purposeful. Doesn't have to be for something else. And allow yourself that momentary escape, that momentary, I just want to draw a spaceship, or I just want to draw whatever it is I just want to draw. Yeah, there's no necessity for validating that to anybody. And who knows? Like maybe it goes someplace or maybe it doesn't. I don't know. It allows that leg stretching. Maybe it lets you learn new things that, oh, you know what, I'm going to try that, or I haven't put enough thought into that. You know, maybe I'm getting better at perspective, or I can work on it a little more here. Whatever it is, you just got to have fun, end of the day. I tend to draw digitally like when I'm painting on paper too. I mean, I tend to work the same way as I do when I'm drawing on paper, which is a kind of a weird, maybe counterintuitive way to do it. But this is the balance that I think I figured out at this point for how I'm approaching it. Trial and error, more time. I'll figure that out. Where is this character? They're inside of a spaceship in the cargo hold. Sounds good. You know, it's I looked at a picture of a big airplane and just playing with it. You know, back of a truck, yeah, just a cargo area of some kind. Back of a truck works too. Sometimes it's just about having fun. Yeah, well, I just finished one of my have-tos. I just finished a project that I've been working on for someone. So what I'm trying to point out is that when you finish a project, you reward yourself and just do something different. So I just thought I've been trying to draw digitally when I can. So here I am, just having another doodle, giving little bits and bobs to the image and having fun and not getting too caught up and too worried about what I'm doing. Just playing. It's not specifically for something. It's just what it is. Like it's just just playing with the idea that here's a spaceship, here's a person in said spaceship, something's gone wrong. There's concern in their face that they've got something they got to fix. So they're down here in the guts of the ship. Is there a monster? I don't know. I haven't put a monster in. But it could be. It's more of a pushing myself to go in a different direction from what I've been doing. And allowing that opportunity to chase an interest, to just, I want to play with this. I want to doodle this for a moment. And the more that you add to it, the more, the more that you're getting out of it as you're adding aspects to the image and layers to it. It's starting to pull together in a way. I don't know if you can see my cat trying to kiss my face as I'm going. Again, he's ridiculous. You're ridiculous, Corbin. Sorry. Stop. Stop. Putting in little colors, little slaps of color throughout. Just to move the eye around. Like if I got yellows here, there's little bits of yellow in there. I could put little plates into the floor just to move the yellow around the whole image. Put some highlights in the chains just to carry the yellow around. And I'm going to throw that yellow in there too. And hopefully that keeps the viewer's eye moving around throughout here, throughout the image. Corbin, get up. Still kind of flat. Where did I put these? There we go. Okay. So I'm going to come through some of these lines I threw in earlier. Start peeling some of it back a little bit. Not much, you know. Just a couple of little bits. Little bits gonna take that out of there. Yeah. Boom, boom. I don't know if you can see this. Are you on the right side? Jesus. Okay. Don't ask. There we go. Not enough? Good. Well, where? Yeah, that feels fun. I think we've put something together today. Let's take that up at the top of the image. So that's fun. That's a little painted panel in an hour and a half. Would it be done? So yeah, good fun. Good fun in the sun. Well, I thought maybe we might have that guest come in, but it was based on whether their schedule could fit it together. I don't know that that's happened, so that's okay. We'll do it again. Phil, you also are welcome to join in and draw on the show here too. And get that together sometime you like. I like what you do. You can probably give me pointers while we're drawing. What are you doing? Stop that. Don't use that. Use this. Get out of here with that junk. Who do you think you're fooling with that picture, pal? All that kinds of advice. Yeah, well, maybe not. That's not really your personality. So. All right. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. It's come together pretty nicely from just scribbling. So I could use a lot more contrast, I think. And I think it can use a lot more. Oh, sure. Great. No, it sounds like a plan. I'll send you a thing and we'll figure out a time together. It works with both our schedules. Yeah, this comes together pretty good, I think. I'm pretty pleased with the image we've got. But I think I better zip away here. It's been an hour and a half, and I got a couple things I had to get done this afternoon. But thank you for hanging out. And thank you, Tom Jones, for dancing through the whole show. And I'll be back tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. All right. Thanks again, Phil. We'll talk to you. Okay, well, let me know when you think what times would work best for you, Philip, and we'll figure out getting you in here with me, and we'll draw side by side. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And we'll try that out. But tune in tomorrow, 2:00 again. Anybody that picks up on this, and I'll be doing it again. I think I'm going to show. I'll have posted the next page for Village Haunted on Instagram and Facebook, and I don't know. I can do drawing by request or something tomorrow because again, it doesn't have to be me always drawing a Village Haunted, or it can be. I can I can take a crack at working on more of these. Excuse me. Woo! I'm working on more of these panels for this sci-fi project that I'm working on, which is what I was doodling today. So, yeah, I'm open. So if there's any thoughts or ideas that people might have about what they'd like to see me do, let me know, and we'll do it. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. 2:00 tomorrow. Same bad time, same bad station. Bye for now.